Hello, hello. We are going live again on LinkedIn. Also, this live is going to show on Facebook and on YouTube. So, wherever you are watching, welcome. You're very welcome. I'm happy to be here today. I'm Juliana Rabi, career coach for remote jobs. This is, I think, my live number 5 on LinkedIn, if I'm not wrong. And today I'm not alone. I have a very special guest here with me. I'm going to bring her on stage very soon. Let me just do some check-ins here because you don't see it, but from here I need to do a lot of check-ins and just to make sure that everything is working out well. So if you're watching live, uh, if there is anyone watching live, please let me know if you can hear well, if you can see well, just to make sure it's working. Okay, while I finish checking here. Also, let me know in the chat, where are you watching from, which country, which city are you connecting from. I normally have a very international audience, and when we talk about remote work, even more, right? Because we are talking about people from different countries, different nationalities, who also want to work for different countries, different teams, different companies. So I know I always have a very international audience. So if you're watching live, let me know here first if you can hear as well. That's important to just make sure everything is working. And also, where are you connecting from here? Okay. Um, Let me see. I think everything is fine. So I'm going to bring on stage my special guest. Her name is Rowena. And Rowena, please join me here. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Juliana. So nice to be here. So
Yeah.
good, so good. Juliana and I are old friends, so it's so lovely to do this LinkedIn Live with you today. And if you've done 5 recently, Juliana, you're an expert. An expert.
Yeah, it's just like technical check is just to make sure that everything is working out well. Oh, Ani said, all good here, connecting from Barcelona, Spain. Yes, and is also a good friend from Barcelona. Rovina is also in Barcelona, in Spain at the moment, not Barcelona, sorry, in Spain at the
Buenas
moment.
tardes, de Zaragoza. Buenas tardes.
Started. Nice. Thanks, Anna, for the confirmation. Bola is also saying, yes, all good. Okay, he's in Ontario, Canada. Hi, Juliana. Hello, Bola. You're welcome. So, welcome to everyone. Also, for the ones who will watch this live later, you're also welcome to watch it. And you can also leave comments. We can read the comments later and also reply to your comments. So, this is live, but the live remains in my profile and you can watch that later. So, look, today, the idea of this live is bring Rovina here for different reasons. But some of them is because I really love Rovina. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing professional. She's really a pro in what she does, and she has been doing an amazing job for the remote work community in general. So I like her. That's one thing I have to say that. But the work she's doing is really impressive and relevant for everyone who is already working remotely, for the ones who want to work remotely. So she's like a key person in this networking and this area of remote work. On the top of that, she was also awarded as a LinkedIn top voice in the remote work area. So it's like, wow, how cool is that? And she's a LinkedIn instructor. You have 2 courses so
That's
far?
correct. 2
Yes.
courses so far,
Okay.
and
Two
hopefully another
courses.
one at some point soon.
Yes.
Yep.
Nice. So, Ravina, do you want to introduce yourself better than I did with more details,
Oh, well, that was
please?
fantastic. You could just keep going, Julia. So,
Okay.
I've been around in working in technology, marketing, and also in education for 23 years. I'm originally from the west coast of Ireland. You should hear it from my voice, hopefully, and living or based in Spain for the last 6 years with my family. And the story behind why the passion for remote work. Well, I was lucky enough in 2007 to discover digital nomadism and to be working remotely while I was based down around Australia, New Zealand, Fiji on a project back then. And I was moving around, answering emails and early days of nomadism. At that time, I didn't have a base at all. I was totally just moving around in Southeast Asia as well. So that was my first exposure to digital communications, collaboration at a distance. Fast forward a few more years later, being back in Ireland with family, I found myself with a beautiful little girl, a daughter. I'm a mother now, really happy with my family, but unfortunately, our daughter developed really bad chronic asthma. And Juliana, I think, knows the story, but
I
if I
do.
if I didn't have remote work, I wouldn't have had work for those 2 3 years she was ill. And while she was very very ill, surviving in Dublin with her illness, chronic asthma, with very little sleep, and just basically trying to get through the days, remote work was my lifeline to work. It meant I could work. And as a female in my 40s, then it was really important to keep me in the workforce at all whatsoever. And part of the story is that her asthma was so bad, we decided to move country to Spain to help her health. And it's a really happy story, Juliana. She's much better. She improved within about 18 months of us moving to Spain. So we moved country, and therefore global mobility, which is a big part of remote work, and something that we might take for granted as local remote workers, is a big part of my passion. And that's why, as you said, as part of the community, as part of my advocacy, I really, it's a lived experience for me. It's really personal for me and my family, remote work access, and hence the passion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because I talk a lot about like how to land a remote job, how to start a remote career. So normally I get this perspective of the situation, like how to start it, how to get there. But there is so much more around it, like your motivation to go remote, like how it allows you to actually keep working, have a career, working from different places, get along like people with some kind of discapacity, people that I don't know, cannot go to the office for some reason, people who moved cities and they used to need to quit their job because they were like commuting for 3 hours to go to work. So there is so many things involved, and it's so nice to hear how remote work pretty much saved your daughter's life, but also saved your career,
Exactly
right?
this, exactly this. And the thing that was fascinating is, like a lot of situations when you're in crisis, Juliana, when you just react and say, my employer at the time when my daughter was really sick said, oh, you can work from home for a while. Oh, work from home while you keep things going while she's ill. And looking back on it now, I didn't even appreciate it because I was so exhausted. Obviously, when we got to Spain and I started my business, Row Remote, within a year of arriving in Spain, it began to make a picture in my head that if I hadn't had this access to remote work, I wouldn't have had the career I had. I wouldn't have kept
Yeah.
working. I wouldn't have, as a female, I wouldn't have had financial independence, regardless of my family situation. So it was really, really personal. I think it was something you said there really resonated with me. Allow, enable, supports people to work from any location. And I think for anyone listening who's exploring remote work as a career option, because it really is a new way of doing things, it really is a different way of doing things, I think you really need to think about how it will, the positives, the advantages, because one of the things we both know, being in this space for a while, is that passion, when you've thought it through, Juliana, what it really means to you on a personal level, how it improves your life. Write a list, how it might improve your life. Dream, write a list. Could you live nearer your family? Could you be near community? Could you take care of the pet better, your care responsibilities? Could you simply have more time to contribute to your local community or society? Whatever
Yeah.
whatever makes it personal for you means that your motivation and self-motivation is a really important part of being an effective remote worker. And when we tap into those core reasons, those core values, like when I get asked to do things like this, when I get reminded of my privilege as a remote worker and the fact I have my career because of it, I feel it in my heart and soul. It really matters to me. So
Yeah.
that I think that's something anyone who's curious should, I would really recommend they explore that.
Yeah, I like to say that when you don't work remotely, normally your life is around your job. So you have a job, You go to the office, to the factory, to the hospital, whatever, and then you try to live close to it because it's just like easier to get to work. And then you make your personal plans after work, so after 6 p.m., because before that you cannot go. And then you leave a lot of things for the weekend because, shopping, grocerying, and cleaning the house and meeting friends. So the work is like the central part of your life, and everything is around when you have time off, when you can spend time with your family, when you can travel. When you work remotely, you shift that to your life is the center and the work is supporting the lifestyle you want to have. So it's not just a way of saying, it's a completely change of perspective. So you don't need to live in that super expensive and tiny apartment close to the office in a region that you hate just because that's where you work. You can choose where you live and work from, and then you're going to work from there. Probably more motivated, probably saving money in rent, probably also using your time better outside of work. So, remote work has a lot to do with what is not related to work, right? So, it's a, I like to say, like, it's a pillar in life, and I help my clients with this pillar. But at the end, to tell you, like, to be 100% true, bro, I don't know if I said that out loud many times, but it's like, I don't think work is the most important thing in our life. I don't think this is the thing. It is one pillar that, if it's not fixed, all the rest will probably be struggling. So we need to fix that. But when you fix that, you can make better life decisions. You can make better choices because you choose from, if I want my table here or facing the window, or if I want to work from a work, or if I want to work from bed, or if I want to work from a coffee shop, from those small decisions up to where do I want to live, what do I want to do after work, who are the people I want to spend time with. Because also when you go to the office, you don't have much choice, right? You related to those people in the office, even if you're not really connected to them, if you have nothing to do with them. But when you're working remotely, you can be more intentional about who are the people I spend more time with, because I can choose that. Who do I have lunch with and all of that? So it is about work, but it's not only about work. I think work is just the way to structure that and allow you to have this lifestyle. So yeah, let me just say here that whoever is watching can also write their questions in the chat. So I have some questions here that we received before. I'm going to bring them to the discussion. But if you're watching live, please, please, please share your questions, your comments. If what we are saying resonate with you, maybe you have never thought about one of the things we are bringing here. So feel free to bring that to this discussion. Bola is saying, such a beautiful, inspiring story. Rowena, thanks for sharing. Yeah, it is inspiring. Yeah. He also has a question. My question is around getting work authorization with any visa work permit requirements. Okay. Do you want to answer it now? Or
Let's come to that in a few minutes, because we're going to talk
okay.
cover that off in a couple of minutes anyways. And I just want to encourage people as well, especially on LinkedIn. I'm not on Facebook, Juliana, or I'm not on what was the other one you said?
Facebook, YouTube. Yeah.
But if we miss a question, I know this is being streamed, but also on the after the event, if there's something we haven't answered, reach out to me directly, ask the question, and I will try and come back to you. You can connect with me as well. So, because there's a little time delay to the LinkedIn. So I just want to be as inclusive as possible. But I thought that was a really good point about designing your life around work. And then it's with remote work, I actually posted this morning on that. It's more about how we live as people if we design our lives around our lives, and work can fit into that because we're not tied to a location. So it really brings in a level of liberty. And I think that rounds up that part of why there is a different mindset involved. But again, to highlight to people, whether you're listening as an existing remote worker, and Juliana's asking, or you're an aspiring one, just really be really clear on those motivations, because for various reasons, and I want to give you my perspective on it. It's a tough market at the moment. It's tough economic situation. There's no lying on that. That's the truth. So regardless, job applications can take a long while. Processes can be long. So you're going to need some strength, some fortitude there on this journey. And having those reasons written down, pinning them to your fridge, having them on a wall will help you keep motivated. That's the first reason. The second reason, the more you think about them, the more you articulate them, the better when you're asked in a remote job process, an interview or whatever, that you can articulate them. So I often help other clients sometimes looking at career progression. Juliana's a specialist for finding jobs, but sometimes I do a little bit of career progression, mentoring, and surround that. What would the remote work access that you want from this position? What would it give you? Is really important to have straight as well, so that you can talk to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Um, I want to bring one question that we received before here. We can start with this one. How
Okay.
is remote work evolving post COVID? I know that for a lot of people, remote work became a thing after the pandemic, right? Not for us, we have been working remotely for longer, but for a lot of people, they just experienced for the first time working remote, working from home, right? That's the correct term at that time. But they had the first contact with this possibility of not working from the same place every day, Monday to Friday, during the pandemic. So there was the boom that all of us experienced, and yeah, had good or bad experience with that. And now we are in this post-COVID moment, and the questions start coming up: is this going to last? Is this a thing? How is it changing? How is it evolving? How long it's going to take? So what can you share about this, Ro?
So exactly to your point first, and I always make this distinction. What we were doing, all of us, me included, during COVID, was working from home in a crisis. It's
In a
not
mandatory way,
in a
not a
mandatory,
choice. Yeah,
forced, with
with fear and
fear,
uncertainty.
with
Yes.
being forced, with stress, with so many other things going on. So I really, really want to make sure that people realize that what you experience, especially if you didn't like it. So I'm joining today as well from it's a shared office space, small co-working in Zaragoza, because I don't like to work from home that much. I do occasionally, maybe once a week or whatever, for whatever reasons. I was there this morning because there was a package being delivered. But generally, I'm in my shared space. I'm out of my home, particularly after COVID, because I have a small child, because family time, mostly for me, is important. So I just find it doesn't mix well to always work from home, but everyone is different. So first of all, be very aware that work from home only does not equal remote work. If you've only ever worked from home and you're going, I get tired, I get distracted, I can't disconnect, I'm living from work when I'm working from home, well, of course you are, because the living spaces, a lot of these houses and flats are not designed for home working, as we well know. So the first thing is that what we were doing during COVID was very different to true remote work. And that's why the terms like work from anywhere, digital nomads, all these things are beginning to push the boundaries, and that people are asking good questions. How has remote work evolved post-COVID in terms of how organizations and companies are reacting? The forced office mandates, Juliana, all these different things that have been happening. So look, it's still figuring itself out. There's a lot of hangover, for want of a better term, from COVID. Real estate contracts and commitments, management
It's
that
ongoing.
it's
It's ongoing.
ongoing.
It's not done. It's not finished.
It's not done.
Yeah.
The economic recession is still part of that, as we know. Not all of it, but a big part of it can be attributed to the pandemic. So, anyone listening, it's evolving. If you want a remote work job, or you already work remotely, the ones working remotely are sitting there either with a nice job that with a remote first organization or hybrid or whatever. The ones looking care about the remote first companies. Don't pay attention to the noise and the news, right? Real estate contracts, if you know anything about politics, are very related to politicians and vested interests in certain urban areas, because a lot of the big buildings are, as we know, in these financial districts, etc., are in city centers. So there's a lot of noise out there. I am suggesting that you ignore it. I spend a bit of time in my content talking about it, because I'm trying to raise the awareness of why some companies are forcing people back because they haven't got a choice, maybe because they don't understand remote. But we can talk about them all day long. Who cares? They're probably not going to give you your job. So focus on the remote first companies. That's whatever is happening. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to be the future after COVID. But uh, if you want a remote job, focus on remote first companies.
Yeah. I also noticed that a lot of job seekers, they are like, how do I negotiate going remote in my current company? They want me to go back to the office for 2 or 3 days a week. How can I negotiate to go back only one day? Well, this time and energy can be used to negotiate without guarantees, but it's still an option. Or it can be used to focus on searching for jobs and getting visibility and creating networking and standing out for companies that are remote already. So that's what the remote first companies are about. They are remote.
Yeah.
They embrace that. So it's not a temporary thing. It's not a favor they are doing as an exception because you were remote, so they're going to let you until end of summer. So you don't need to spend your time and your energy negotiating that, because by default they are already a company that embraced remote work. They are structured for that. They have the tools. They have this part here, the mindset, because it is
Exactly.
about tools, but it's about believing in remote work, trusting people. So when you go for companies that are already remote, everything is easier because you don't need to convince them, you don't need to beg, you don't need to spend hours negotiating that, or being doing something that you don't want to do. If they are forcing you to go back to the office, well, probably that's the way they decided to do. So most of
Exactly.
the times you can't really go against the whole, decision of the company. So it's smarter, I would say, to focus your time and energy in the companies that are remote. They allow remote work, they embrace it, and they want people who want to work remote. So it's just easier like that, right? Yeah.
Perfect. And I mean, I'm going to share a couple of resources. The first one, you were included in this article, Juliana. It's a couple of months old, but it's all the free remote job resources that you can find out there, including lists, lots of sites with the remote first companies that are hiring.
Do you want to
Also,
share in the comments?
yeah, I've shared it in the
Yeah.
comments on LinkedIn already.
Okay.
So that's a good place to start if you want to have a quick look at that whole idea of who are the remote first companies, how should I be tracking them. Juliana, I'm sure you'll share it in other places as well there. And then also to add to that is, you did say there, Juliana, um, that where people were asking you, they've been forced back, what should they do? So we actually published, my newsletter has almost 10,000 subscribers, and we published a nice article on that yesterday with some really practical advice, as you said, Juliana, on how to push back. If HR comes to you, if your manager comes to you and they're saying you need to be back in the office these different days, not only does the article give you some really clear pointers on how to understand the request, understand your contract, understand your rights, get a hold on the whole situation and the status and what you can or can't do, but also it raises awareness, that article, and we were writing it, we really did this on purpose, about what I was saying about accessibility in DEI. And Juliana has worked in recruitment for a long, long time. And DEI, accessibility, inclusion is a huge area. And that's one of the things that I want to make sure we highlight here, that if you are getting pushed back to go back to the to go back to the office, make sure that if you do have a valid request, like a valid reason, it's called accommodation in legal language, that you don't want to, whether you're suffering from stress, whether you can't, just know all your rights. I'm not a lawyer, but read that article. There's loads of pointers there. If you're someone that suffers from perhaps some neurodiversity or whatever, if there's a special accommodation that you could argue, if you feel anxiety about going back to the office to the extent that it's causing you stress, every employer, particularly in Europe, and I can more talk to Europe than any other place in the world, has a duty of care. Okay, in Europe particularly has a duty of care, and that means that they have to care about their employees under local legislation. And again, that article hints at that. So make sure you know your rights, make sure you're informed, and hopefully people can see that article. I see a couple of, but it's a good place to start if you're being forced back.
Yeah, I shared in the, let me see, Bolin Ani said they can't see the link. I think I shared it now. Can you please confirm, Bolin Ani, because Ravin, I think you shared in the private one, and I brought it to the
Uh,
comments now, so it should be available. I wrote remote work resource, so please let me know if it's available now. There is some delay between when we share it and
yeah,
when
so
they
there's a
get it.
delay.
Yeah. So
There's a
please let me
delay.
know in the chat if you can see that. Yeah, Ravina. So know that there are other possibilities out there. Get information, right? Trustable information, not any source of information. So trustable information, and prepare for the important conversations in your career. Everything related to going remote or negotiating. That I always tell my clients, prepare for that. You shouldn't improvise this kind of. It's very crucial to your career. So I also teach my clients like 10 steps to prepare for it, what they should do before getting in front of the manager and HR and say, hey, can I just work from home? It's not like that. It requires preparation, information investigation, but this can be done. And sometimes it works. So it's
So
worth it to.
totally, and I think I also want to add to that. In my experience over the last so many years, you work with clients on coaching, mentoring them, Juliana, to support them. And sometimes when a person goes and they're requesting, or even when they're going for a remote job, they really need that role play experience with someone like you that knows how to. It's, I don't know if you ever watch, I'm thinking like, but this is what's coming into my head. I don't know if you ever watch those TV movies when they're preparing someone to give evidence or to be in an interview and they role play it out. But
Mhm.
that's actually what you need.
That's what
And
I do. Exactly.
yeah, that's what you
It's not
need.
only here. Say it out loud, see if it makes
Yeah,
sense, if the other person understands. Sometimes you think it's clear in
yeah.
your head, but when you say it out loud, it's confusing, or you're speaking too fast, you're not bringing data, you are, going back and forth. So rehearsing, if you care about it, put the time and the energy and prepare and rehearse. It's worth it, definitely.
Totally, totally. And the other thing that's interesting as well is to observe in general, particularly if you're referring to speaking to HR in your own company, Juliana, is there's a lot of tense emotions out here as well. There's a lot of in the world in general. So again, I know you see it quite a lot on social media, anyways, but having a mentor, having a coach, having someone that's really supporting you with that specific aim through role playing, through these things, really means you are prepared for the interview, you are prepared for the discussions. And um, I believe, as you say, it's not just up here, it's practicing, and in
Yeah,
reality is really important, really
yeah.
important.
And again, like we are talking about a competitive market, right? So let's keep things real. Real. A lot of people nowadays want to land a remote job, so there is competition involved, right? So you need to be not only good at what you do, but good at expressing your ideas. It's like selling yourself, selling your idea, defending your perspective. So preparation goes for talking to HR or your hiring manager about going remote in your company, but it goes when you are trying to land the job in a new company. So preparation, talking about it, that's exactly why we are doing this live here, because the more we talk about those topics, the more we embrace them, we understand it is possible, right? There is this possibility. I don't just need to accept without at least trying, without understanding what matters to me, and then I go there and try. So preparation and talking about those things is exactly what will give us more confidence and tools to do it, right? And
Ex-
talking about it, I have another question here. Um, where is it? This one. This is a good one.
So
How to
I'm go-
find truly
so
remote first companies friendly and open to hire. So it's
okay.
related to what we were talking before.
So let's
Tough
let's let's
question.
let's just answer this one with a lot of empathy, because there's a lot of confusion out there about what remote is. And companies are remote washing about this. They're pretending to be remote. They're putting up, unfortunately, fake remote jobs. It happens all
They
the
are.
time.
They are.
And I mean, with my audience on LinkedIn, Juliana, 2, 3 times a week, I get messages saying, "Oh, I thought it was a remote role, but then they said I had to be in the office
In the
twice a
office
week."
twice per day. They talk about pizza and nice office environment. It's like, what are you talking about? So it's not remote. Yeah, it happens more often than we want to, definitely. Definitely.
Definitely. So please realize that, please be patient, because a lot of companies are using the term I've coined as remote washing. They're jumping on the remote bandwagon. There's a lot of carpetbaggers out there and they're claiming to be remote when actually it's hybrid. And hybrid might be fine. If hybrid suits you for a local area, no problem. But for the audience in general today, most, I believe, want a remote first job. They want that full flexibility. Let's be very clear. I see there's a place for hybrid, but it does tie you more to a location. So Juliana's interested, a really good point earlier about, if you're tied to a place over here, that's your workplace. Hybrid still often means that's going to happen because you have to be within commuting distance. That is why fully remote, where you can choose where you work from completely, is really, really more attractive to many people. Now, that's not what the media is saying. That's not what a lot of the articles are saying. You'll see a lot on hybrid, but that's because, let's think about what we mentioned earlier. They want people back in the urban areas. They want those office buildings full because they want to sell the sandwiches and the cafes, and the mayors need to be able to answer to their constituents on that. So there's lots of vested interest there. But for you listening, you need to look for those remote first companies. We've shared some links. You'll find them there. You need to do your homework. LinkedIn, Glassdoor, wherever the sites, you need to follow content like Juliana's and mine, which calls out a lot of remote first companies. Then you need to start making a target list, and you need to start working like a salesperson for yourself. And as we say in Ireland, we have a term about cooking the leads, making sure that you're building those leads, you're getting them ready. It is a hard market regardless, but also, and it's no one's fault, and all I can do is say it's natural when there's an evolution happening that there's confusion, but there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of bad job listings out there. So be careful of the fake ones and try and focus your attention on the true ones. Make your target list and make sure that you're focusing on fully remote companies. You can check, you can go onto Glassdoor, you can look up other reviews, and you'll see straight away there as you're making your target list who are the truly remote companies.
Yeah, I have a video actually in my YouTube channel with 10 ways to avoid spam when it comes to remote work, because I get a lot of people who contact me and sometimes they share the email and they're like, Juliana, this is looking suspicious. This is supposed to be remote job offer. Can you check it for me? And then like, there are some things that you can spot very easily when you know about them, right? And it's like, okay, avoid it, don't even reply to them. And I mean, when they're asking for money, when they ask you to make a payment, they're going to pay you back. When there is no website. I mean, there are some signals that you can clearly identify. So this is information that will save you time and sometimes even money. Sometimes people say, I paid for a training, I paid for my laptop. They said they were going to pay me back in the first pay slip. Of course, you never hear back from them and never get the money back. So you can check on my YouTube channel, this video. I'm going to leave search for the link and leave it here on the
But I mean,
comments.
it makes me really frustrated. And it makes me really sad because we have all these candidates that are looking for a better life through remote work, but then we've got so many barriers, Juliana, so many hurdles.
Yeah.
And what frustrates me, and I've spoken about inclusion and I've spoken about access to work as a major part. If we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, it's in there all over the place from the UN. So, I mean, for what it's worth, it really frustrates me. I really feel your pain if this is what you've experienced. But it is also a message of how intentional and dedicated you need to be. Believe us, it's worth it. But I'm also calling to action your real bravery and commitment in a remote work job search. Both of us are being very honest with you. It's not easy, but it is worth it. And it's not easy because it's very much outside our, because the market is abusing the term remote, unfortunately.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of companies. I notice also there is like they're taking advantage of using the word remote because it attracts a lot of attention, right? There are some studies, some data from LinkedIn. I think a job spec that mentions remote, I think it gets like 3 or 4 times more visibility than a job that doesn't say remote. So some companies, not all of them, But the ones we are referring to, they are playing with that and they put the word remote at the top of the job description. So more people are reading that and applying for that, which at the end of the day is a waste of time, right? Because if you're looking for a remote work and you go through the process, it's not you're going to stop at some point. The recruiter is wasting his or her time because they are looking for a profile and you're not looking for the same thing. But anyways, company are playing with that, and my suspicion is because they are getting more traction in those job posts and then they just play with that. So this is a fact. But on the other side, bro, in my experience, this is a great time to consider a remote job because there was never so many options out there. There were never so many companies willing to hire remotely, right? Embracing that and talking about it. So it is tough, but at the same time, there was never a better time for it. Do you agree?
I totally agree. Well, I've actually just noticed that I've got a message that the LinkedIn is not working, Juliana, at the moment, the LinkedIn feed
I
at
can
all.
do it.
I'm wondering if you
I,
can
I'm receiving, yeah, I received some comments
yeah,
before.
but I don't think we're streaming to LinkedIn. I noticed some comments myself. Um,
Oh,
oh
okay,
yeah,
okay.
I'm just checking. Someone has sent me a screen
Um,
grab.
that
I
it's
mean,
not working. Okay, let
mm,
me check here. That's bad.
I know.
Let me see.
I saw some comments coming through as well, but I could see that there was a delay in the feed, which sometimes happens. So I'll get you to check that if possible.
Let me see.
And maybe if it's streaming definitely live to YouTube, you can add that link in there, Julianne, at the moment. So at least people can jump on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So someone's telling us we are streaming. I don't know
Ah,
why to LinkedIn.
yeah. Bola said yes. We are streaming to LinkedIn. Yeah, because I'm
I've
getting
had,
comments from LinkedIn. Like Annie and Bola, they comment from LinkedIn. Sorry,
okay.
this is as I said. There is the backstage here with this program I need to use. It's a bit complex, so apologies if it's not working. But Bola said yeah. Annie said I'm watching now on LinkedIn. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
seems,
We are live. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm learning. It's my fifth live, but it's still there's a lot
well,
going on here.
I know that
We are
I know
live.
there's a delay, but the good news for anyone, and even if people tune into the playback, is there will be another live, possibly in June.
Yes.
So
And
if
it
there's any,
remains recorded. This
it
one also.
remains
Yeah.
recorded. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask another thing. Let me bring this question here because I think it's related to what we were saying. We mentioned that it's a tough market at the moment, but at the same time, like there are opportunities out there. People are landing remote jobs currently. Companies are more open to it, embracing it. So it leads to this question of skills and competences, right? Like, what
Yes.
do you need? What is the profile that you should have, or the profile that increase the chances, at least, of you landing a remote job in a remote work? What can you share about it?
So really, really good question. And if we had a bit more thinking, maybe we could have a poll or do a poll about what people would think. So the
Mm,
thing is is the best one. It seems to be someone's saying it's streaming fine through LinkedIn. It
yeah.
might be regional, so maybe it is a regional thing. So thank you for bearing with us, everybody.
Yes.
I've shared into LinkedIn now a piece of research. I'm an academic as well. If you don't, I didn't say that in my introduction, but I've developed, co-authored 2 remote work skills course. So remote work skills are one of my favorite things. Talk about skills, competencies, behaviors to be a better remote worker. So obviously Juliana and I are displaying our video skills today, and hopefully we're getting 10 out of 10. We're also displaying how comfortable we are at troubleshooting, Juliana, when things are not working, and putting a smile on our face, a really important point of being a remote worker as well when you're doing video. It's really interesting, Juliana, because there is research out there, and people, like, remember during COVID when you were stuck at home and you were working from home, like a lot of people straight away were speaking on social media about how organized they had to be because they could get distracted, or they started doing the dishes, or they weren't having a good morning routine, or they were sitting at the computer at 7 o'clock when they hadn't really um, you know, finish what they were meant to be doing. So the point is that conscientiousness is really, really, really important. That self-organization, that self-discipline. And I've actually been intentionally using those words about what how, and it's not all about it's your nature. It doesn't mean your personality has to be super, super conscientious. We all learned during COVID to maybe be a bit more motivated, disciplined, organized, have structure to our day. And so conscientiousness is one, adaptability and flexibility, which we're
Yeah.
displaying. I shared a link and I'll share it again here in the comments or in the private chat, and you can copy it over to the article which talks to this, which talks to the effective traits that remote workers should be displaying. Are they organized? Are they conscientious? Are they keeping an eye on the different projects? Are they structuring their day well? These are some examples. Are they adaptable? Are they flexible? When they do a LinkedIn Live, if there's tech trouble, how do they deal with it? Do they troubleshoot on the spot? And the third one is curiosity. So again, we can talk about that as well in terms of both Juliana, Anna, and I guarantee you will be curious. Could we have done the LinkedIn Live better? What was that issue with the delay? So again, we're experienced remote workers, but look to those skills. Read that article and have a think about those skills, because that's often what remote workers display. And one of the things that I want to highlight about conscientiousness and about that sort of how you approach remote work is also about the human being that does the remote work. So let's be really, really clear. One of the most important things about remote work and its flexibility is that with too much flexibility, with too much access to the beautiful laptop that's in your bag everywhere you go, we have a massive responsibility for our own personal well-being, taking care of ourselves, taking breaks, not working all the
This
hours.
can be hard, eh? This can
Aha.
be hard. Yeah, yeah.
So one of
We
the
complain
reasons,
we don't have time off when we work in the office. We have to rush to have lunch and we cannot have breaks. And then we are working from anywhere and we're like, do I actually making breaks? Am I like exercising, stretching my body, sitting in the right position, or am I just like so? All those things, they are back to us. Like it's our responsibility. We need to take care of ourselves more than ever. So we need to do the work, but also take care of ourselves, and that can be a lot for some people. But that's important to remember that,
it's
right?
really important. And I think if anyone said to me, if I was in a lift with someone that said they had 1 minute, if I say, tell me 1 minute what makes a good remote worker, I actually think I would answer self-responsibility, self-awareness, and boundaries, which is actually all linked into conscientiousness. There's no point in being sat at any computer if you're tired, if you're not being effective, if you need a break. So that ability to go, okay, I need to get up now. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to the gym. I'm going for a coffee with my friend. Closing the machine on a Friday and not opening it till a Monday. These are the things. And that's, you can read the article, but also my 30 seconds on it is know that with this wonderful way of working, you, and I'm pointing at you all out there, have a responsibility to take care of yourselves, and then you'll do smarter work.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Sometimes you're so focusing, I need to get the work done, and then we forget that if you are not alive, healthy, happy, at the end of the day, it's like, what is the point, right? You're unhappy because you can be unhappy working remotely, right? I have this conversation with people. It's like, oh, my life is going to change when I work remotely. Well, yes, but you need to be intentional about it and make this change for better, because it can be a change for worse, right? You can be unhappy, isolated, just eating all the time, not taking breaks, overworking. So remote work can save your life and your family life, like it happened to you, but it can be a disaster also if you're not handling those things well, right? So it can be
Totally.
both things. Yeah. Well,
Totally.
I want to share something that I prepared here.
Oh,
It's yeah, a little bit of how we met, because Rovina and I met last year. So let me bring this here and share with you all. Yes.
oh.
We met last year in Tirana, is the capital of Albania. It was my first time in Albania. Was it your first time also, Ro?
It was my
In
first time,
Albania?
yes, in
Yeah.
Albania. Yeah.
So our first time in Albania. They, the municipality of the city organized with other institutions also, they organized a Tirana Digital Nomad Festival. So it was the first event they organized, quite big event, international speakers and all of that, in the city in summer last year, European summer in September. So we met. This photo was taken on the first evening of the event. There was like a welcome party, a cocktail. So we met for the first time in September last year. And then working together, yeah, the word working disappeared here, but it's fine. Working together from a coffee shop that was doing the event. One of the afternoons we just escaped because we wanted the event, but we had to do some work. So we went to this cafe. And then maybe it was the first time, Ro, I heard from you, I don't know, this famous phrase. It's turning into one of your famous phrases. Work is not a place, right? And I
That's
think this
right.
just confirms that. We were in a coffee shop. It was very hot, remember, really hot. So we had like cold coffee, extremely hot. Oh my goodness. And we got some work done from a cafe. So I thought about bringing this photo because um, like working remotely can be easy, can be simple, can be like from wherever you are, literally, and it still can be effective, it still can be professional, can be fun, can be a way to connect deeper with people. So this photo is just like so simple, but I think it represents like pretty much everything: simplicity, results, fun, choosing the place where there were AC, air conditioner there, so it was one of the criteria. Like, okay, let's stay here, and they had decaf coffee for me. So within our needs, we were like, okay, this is the place that we can do the work, right? Remember that?
Totally. And that was actually, we were having the discussion about well-being that day. And I have
Yeah,
Juliana to credit because we were sharing, because she's a full-time nomad. I do it part-time with my family, but we were sharing about,
our
oh,
routine,
yeah,
right? When we have, yeah,
yeah, we were very much
but
sharing about our routine, and that's where in the newsletter that we've shared the link, you can see we often, and Juliana's story's been covered. She was the first one. I often cover stories, particularly from digital nomads that are females, about how they travel, but also about how they keep their well-being, how they self-reflect, how they take care of the communities they travel, and it's turned into a really amazing initiative. I've also got a
yes,
Substack on it too, but it's something that really inspires me because it's about that self-responsibility and self-awareness, Juliana. And we're not going to go and just sit in a cafe and talk about how we make money or how our businesses. What actually we want to talk about is how are your boundaries? What are you doing in your morning
I
routine?
remember this conversation.
And
Yeah.
what do you do for social connection, Juliana? How are you getting on finding vegetarian food? Like this is the stuff because it's more human that really matters. And I think that's a really interesting point to make, that people will realize that remote work is not lonely if you're intentional about making quality connections.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I have another photo that I brought here.
Ah,
That leads to what you just said, like intentionally making connections and all of that. So this photo was in Barcelona in October last year. It was a Thai restaurant, like very good, by the way. I want to go back there. Yeah. So all of us, I think all of us
we
are
do.
working remotely. Yeah. I think there was one girl who was considering uh,
She's not in the
some.
photo, but everyone in this photo
Ah,
is,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, she's not in this photo. Everyone in this photo works remotely, and for me at least, this girl who is with the blue scarf here, it was the first time I met her in person, Valentina. But I had been following her for like maybe 8 or 9 years online. So it's so amazing when you finally put a face on someone. I was like, wow, I can't believe, like, I read your newsletter for years and years and years, and now we met you. It was also the first time you met her in person, I think, right? No,
No, had we read before that?
I
Um,
don't know. No,
um,
with Valentina. Was it the first time you
yeah,
met her in
yeah.
person?
Had I met her before? No. I think it was it the first
I
time I
think you
met?
mentioned it was also the first time you
Yes,
met
yes,
her. Yes.
yes. And
So
yeah. So it just
the
makes
power of
I
this,
had,
right?
yeah, I had met Shan before, who's in the photo, at Nomad City in 2019. But
Ah,
yes, your Valentina was the first time in October. Indra and Rachel, that are there are other people in the
You knew
photo.
them before
Yeah,
already.
yeah, I knew them. I knew them online, but the thing is, a good contact of mine, Tanya, always says, make the connections online, but bring them into the real world to make strong human connection. And that's what
Yes.
you'll find a lot of remote teams and organizations do. They create the connections
Companies
of
retreat
these.
and
Yeah,
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 excuses
yeah.
to meet because this is important. That's another thing that people get confused sometimes. It's like also if I work remotely, I will never meet people. Well, you can meet people. You need to make an effort and create the opportunity. So you don't have to meet them every day, but you can and you should actually because this is so amazing. We met again. Yeah, the presentation is cutting a little bit, but anyways, it was the name is you can see the photo cross-border conference cross-border co-working conference that was in a mountain city in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Yahorina, and it was a 3 days, 2 days event that we were again speakers. We both were speakers in the event in Tirana, digital nomad event there, and then we were both speakers here, and we have Katie and Ana Maria also here in this photo, and we looked like superstars because the photographer was taking a photo and someone took the photo. That's a funny one.
I know.
That's a funny
Yeah.
photo.
So,
Yeah.
so we were really blessed last year because we were in Albania together. We were in fabulous,
Barcelona.
but we
And then
spent. We were in Bosnia Herzegovina. So we had some lovely time in. Was it Mostar or Sarajevo? Mostar. No.
the event was in Yahorina in the
Uh-huh.
mountain. And then we went to Mostar also after the event and we spent
Yes.
some time
So
there.
it was really,
Yes.
really nice. So
Yes.
again, I think that's a lovely illustration for people, and it busts another myth that exists that people don't meet up. That it's really isolating. If you're intentional, you can get all your human connection needs, not all of them, but the ones you need from your work colleagues through remote work. But the other thing that's really interesting is if you remote work in a co-working, in a shared space, if you go out to cafes, again, not just work from home, you meet people as well. You're out socializing, even if it's chats with the barista, even if it's the receptionist. And so there's a lot of negative about isolation, but it's only when you close yourself in a room and don't explore and meet people. So I think that's a nice one to finish on because I have to finish at 5:02. So
I know.
I want to see if there's any questions or anything, Juliana, we have missed.
No, I think no questions at the moment. I have one final question for you. I'm going to put it on the screen here. What one word would you say to someone who is considering being a remote or someone that wants to start this journey? Like, what would you say? One word or one phrase? It can be one phrase, but like a
Uh,
short one, please.
uh, Design your lifestyle. So we'll link back to the start, right? Because again, in the tough market, for all the reasons we've said, in the commitment to find a remote position that suits you, to secure one, you need that really clear vision of your remote work lifestyle, why you want it. So really dream, visualize, work with someone who knows, like Juliana, get some supports in, get some coaching, mentoring, find a community of support. Maybe I know you've got a mentoring community starting, Juliana, but design your lifestyle and really stick to that phrase and really visualize it out because that will help you be motivated and it will also really help you frame why you want it. Human beings are amazing, Juliana. Our psychology, if we start to dream things, we can really make it happen. I also see Amy has said work-life balance. Amy, I love that. But do you know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna put my LinkedIn top voice on, and I'm gonna make a little tweak to it. It's life work balance. Life always comes first. That's what we say as remote workers. We want our lives to be better, and work, as Juliana says, is one pillar of that. Amy, totally agree, but see it as life work integration, balance, or synergy, because life will always come first, and then you'll figure out the work side as it goes.
Yes, amazing. Life work balance. Yeah, we are so used to say work life, right? That's what we were told. And then life work balance.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be cautious with the time. So let's go towards the end. Thank you very much for put here the title again for being LinkedIn top voice, for being a LinkedIn structure, and for being here, for being doing the amazing work you're doing for the community, and for being my friend. Also, I learned so much from you. So thank you for being here. My
My
pleasure.
pleasure. My
Thanks
pleasure.
to everyone who was watching live and commenting here. Again, if you're watching, you can still write your comments, even if the live presentation is over. We'll keep checking the chat, and we can keep this conversation going. Okay, so thanks for watching. Have an amazing day, afternoon, evening, wherever we are, and I'll see you next week for another LinkedIn Live. Take care. Bye. Thanks, bro.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Hasta luego.
Ciao.